the game he had, right? The 5 sacks, the late frustration he showed. Like, just what did you take away from his performance and then his reaction to be taken out at the end of that game?
Yeah, I like the competitiveness with it. You want guys, and the thing is for him, like there's sometimes you get taken out of a game because it's like a blowout win, and you're protecting your guys at the end of the game, and we had that at the end of the Miami game, and guys want sacks and interceptions and things like that, and they're easier to get at that time of the game than other times. But this was the point that we were down, and I appreciated the competitiveness of him wanting to figure that out. Also, 100% see where Kevin was with it, of the game's over, let's protect our players. Outstanding performance. I think the thing, and I told him this, the thing I was probably most proud of his play was not the 5 sacks, it was the way he played the run in that game. And he did a really good job there setting edges and chasing from the backside and things like that. Obviously, in a losing effort, there's really no silver linings, but it was a good individual performance.
We know how important Myles is to your defense on the field, but when you're going through these and you're trying to clean things up, how important is he off the field in the efforts that you're trying to make across the team?
Yeah, you mean just
him being vocal and open in that regard?
Yeah. I mean, you want all your guys to be honest and to be, to be honest with their feelings and things like that. But you also want to frame it the right way, and I think Myles has been good that way. I mean, I think that you guys that deal with him on a daily basis, I mean, having frustration at the end of a game is not something that it normally shows with him. So he's done a good job of being consistent and working. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like the week before that game, he took every single practice rep, every single, and he had told Jacques, hey, I wasn't happy with my performance the week before. You're not taking me out of practice during this week. And I think that goes, like that kind of statement speaks loud too. And he ended up with, a good performance in the game. So, I don't want to, whatever, call that out too much. You guys aren't out there and see the reps, but usually D linemen, because particularly the way we go, we'd like split reps in practice. But I think that sends a strong message, and, it's a difficult thing to do during the week to take every single rep, but I appreciated him doing that. I think it showed on that Sunday. Again, no silver linings in a loss, but, we'll put it behind us and move on to the Jets.
If Carson's going to be able to play or not, but with how well he's been doing just in terms of calling your defense back there and managing the whole thing, what will that be like for you guys if he can't go?
Well, we have some experienced players there. Mahmoud got a lot of his starting experience last year. Devin Bush has played in there. Bake has played in there. So we have a lot of different ways that we can go with it, and we'll practice that way and just see where it lands. But Carson means a lot to us. He's not just from his play not just his play, but also his communication and things like that. And I think he's also stepping into some leadership things. We've said a lot of times it's just a matter of time before the ball found him, and it did on that play. And I think we'll get him back on the field, whether it's this week, next week, the week after, whatever it is. I think you'll continue to see a lot of those same positives from him.
Your side of the ball directly, but with Kevin handing off play calling to Tommy, just what type of message do you think that sort of sends, and what does it say about Kevin as the leader of this team, that he's willing to do something like that at this juncture of the season?
Yeah, you guys know Kevin. He's all about the team, and he's extremely humble and doesn't overreact to things. So any decision he makes is going to be a very measured decision. And if he thinks that's what's best for the team, then we trust him for that to be best for the team. And like you said, like that's really the only thing that comes out of it. Like, who's calling the plays doesn't affect us on defense. But I think from a leadership standpoint, from, Kevin's standpoint, with, him being humble enough to make that move, and then also measured and, it's not – I mean, you guys know Kevin. He doesn't make any seat-of-the-pants decisions. So I think that, that's all part of it, and it, that reinforces his leadership on this team.
In that Patriots game, it looked like they had some success in the second half running to the outside. What did you see, and how can you clean that up?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was a couple missed tackles, and we've generally been a really good tackling team this year. So some of it was that, and then some of it was the quarterback scrambles. I mean, that game, when you look at the rushing stats, it's been so long I can't remember, but they're obviously buoyed by, those scrambles, which were big games. It all counts the same, whether they're running or passing. But for the most part, I've been pleased with our perimeter defense this year. We put a big emphasis into it, and particularly our defensive tackles have done a really good job of flattening out and making plays on things like jet sweeps and crack tosses and things like that. This game, I thought we did take a little bit of a step back, and we got to bounce back that way.
Ball really well, and how much does the presence of a running quarterback enhance that running game?
Yeah, for sure. It just makes you defend one extra guy. It's like having an extra blocker out there because, you have to have availability to handle the quarterback. So a lot of different ways to do it, but, it certainly adds a different dimension. Fields has tremendous speed. He's a 4.3 type quarterback. He's got great size. They have called quarterback runs, like quarterback sweeps, particularly in short yardage. They have quarterback draws, and then they have options, whether it's a zone read or an RPO and things like that. It just really makes you play a sound. It's like playing the triple option in college, right? You have to make sure you cover the dive, the quarterback, and the pitch, and this makes you really play assignment football and puts an emphasis on that. We've obviously seen it before. Lamar with Baltimore runs a lot of stuff like that, and we've seen other teams that do it. So we have a good plan to be able to handle it. But sometimes plan is a little bit easier in theory than in execution. It's one thing to say, yeah, you have the quarterback on this, but another thing when you have a guy that's the athlete that Justin Fields is and the speed that he has. So it's going to take a good team effort to defend that stuff.
League-wide story that we're working on, if you've got a unit that's struggling with missed tackles or just fundamental tackling, how much can that be cured or fixed during the middle of the season, especially with lack of padded practices and everything?
I'm sorry, you're talking about us? You're talking about just in
At the league. There
in
just
general?
seems to be with tackles and everything.
Yeah, I'd say that. I think I've said this before. I think most of the time missed tackles are a result from poor positioning as opposed to, like, the technique of the tackle, right? Like, you overrun it, you take a bad angle. I think it's more bad positioning, and a lot of times tackling comes to pursuit because there's a big difference. Like, the first guy takes a shot at a guy and misses and forces the running back to cut back. That's technically a missed tackle, but he forces him right into the next line of pursuit, and that guy makes the tackle. You don't even notice it. Like, and you guys write about it that, you don't even say it's a missed tackle. But you miss, and then there's nobody there to clean it up. It stands out a little bit more. So, pursuit, positioning, I think those have a lot to do with it. And then it's the technique that goes into it. I think just around the NFL, I know in particular now with us, coaches have gotten very creative in a lot of tackling drills that aren't live tackling, right? Because nobody live tackles in practice. And you see it all across with different techniques. You see it every day when you watch our individual. And I think that's a big change. You go back 20 years ago, there was some form tackling, but there was nowhere near the emphasis on tackling with different drills and different bags and things like that we have now. So I think that's been a strength of our defense this year. And I think it comes from a couple different things. Our guys play free because they know what they're doing generally, and we play with good effort, and then that cleans that stuff up. But I think the technique certainly has a lot to do with it. And when it's all said and done, how well you tackle is probably the number one indicator of how well you play defense. So,
Myles had mentioned that the Patriots left him in one-on-ones more than he has seen, and I'm guessing that first of all, was that a little surprising? And then also, I'm guessing that the Jets will probably put 2 and 3 guys on him again after that performance.
yeah, I mean, we expect that every week. They did have a little bit more opportunity for Myles, and they were counting on the ball coming out quick. I think, some of those, and Myles made some really good pass rushes, but there were a couple in there that really were a result of taking away where the quarterback was looking and buying us a little bit of time. Generally, when he gets clean looks, like you look at it and you're like, all right, ball's coming out quick, or it's a screen. You're just like, they're not going to give him that one-on-one. And when they do, you have to make them pay for it. And, I think that's part of what he did in that game. Again, wasn't enough to get the win, and, that's what we judge ourselves on. But everybody has a plan, whether it's throwing the ball quick, throwing screens. Miami chose to throw a lot of screens, and our defensive line really did a good job of turning and running and neutralizing, not only neutralizing the screens, but making tackles for losses, turning them into negative plays. So everybody's got a plan. We'll just react to it. He's got a good plan for dealing with chips. We've moved him around maybe just a little bit more. Try to keep the target off him, moved him a little bit more right and left. He still wears number 95, and, he's 6'4", 275, and, he's easy to find. But, great players can still affect the game even if they're doubled. All right, guys.